everyone. This is Heartwoods Haven. I am your host, Brandy Swords, and I have a co-host, Dylan Lott. Hello. And we have a special guest today, Mayor Luke Feeney. Yes. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Happy to be here.
Yes. So hopefully you can speak. I'm sure you probably had a wild weekend with the July 4th fireworks.
Yeah, we had a great weekend. America 250 celebration, just really fun, exciting, and back at it this week.
Yes. Well, great. All right, we're just going to ask you a couple questions. Do you want to start?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if you don't mind, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure thing. I'm in my 11th year as mayor, my third term. I have a young family here in Chillicothe. My wife and I have been married, just celebrated our 16th wedding anniversary.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, we always get fireworks at our anniversary. But yeah, I've lived in Chillicothe. This will be 20 years. 2006 is when I moved here for a job with Southeastern Ohio Legal Services. And so really have enjoyed my time being mayor. Before that, I was City Auditor, which is kind of like it was like my crash course in government.
Oh, yes.
And so it's been a lot of fun.
Well, that's definitely awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think you guys put on a heck of a show this year. I was amazed. I think it was genuinely a great show overall. And maybe because it's the 250, I think it blew all the previous shows out of the water. You guys did amazing this year.
Yeah, it's wild to think about how much, several years ago, the city mostly funded fireworks, and the city would put in about $15,000 and we do some fundraising, get a little bit more money in. Several years ago, Rotaries wanted to help with that fundraising. And so we got up to about $50,000 the last few years for fireworks. This year was $75,000 worth of fireworks.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so that's
Yeah, it showed, I think.
It did.
It was an amazing show,
Without
a doubt.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you don't mind, can I ask another question?
Oh, yeah, ask away.
Awesome. Well, in your opinion, what do you think is the biggest challenge mental health-wise for Chillicothe residents?
That's a great question. I think that, for me personally, and I think for many Americans, we had a different or better sense of mental health awareness, especially coming out of COVID or during COVID, just being more aware of your headspace and patients and other people's headspace, maybe. And so coming out of that, I think that as we think about mental health for the people of the city of Chillicothe, the number one thing I would say is how important it is for people to understand that there's not a stigma around mental health. I think that's the first and most important thing as a community we can do and recognize that at some point in your life, just about everybody deals with some sort of mental health struggle, whether that's a moment of anxiety or an extended period of depression. But if we can be open and talking about it and recognize that it's not something that should be stigmatized at all, I think that's really important. So I think that's a national thing. I don't think that's specific to Chillicothe. But of course, education around that. We've got, great mental health providers and hospital system and that sort of thing. But the more we can talk about it as a community, I think that's before you get into any type of specifics around mental health or substance abuse issues that might relate to mental health, that being able to talk about it is maybe one of the first hurdles.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I think our lockdown during the COVID times gave us a lot of time to reflect inwards, and I'm not going to say brought to the surface, but it helped us, it opened our eyes to our inner selves in a way, because we had so much self-reflection time within our lockdown.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I also think in a strange way, like we're doing right now with this, I'll call it a Zoom podcast, but I know it's not Zoom. It made people aware that you could get mental health counseling in a scenario like this, which for some people is a lower barrier and easier thing to do, right? Your health insurance might cover it. You can Google somebody to talk to, stay in the comfort of your own home. And so that probably accelerated people being able to reach out, because I do think that's a hard thing for people to do, is say, okay, I want somebody to talk to, but that's hard to do. How do I make the appointment? I got to wait a month. I got to, as opposed to going into an app and just, kind of designating the type of person you want to talk to.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a lot of the things that people talk about with us is they just have to be on that wait list. And it's hard when you're going through something, really hard and you're feeling some anxiety, but you can't get help right away. So that's kind of why we try to do this podcast. I'm like, hey, if you need someone to talk to, we're here to listen. Not medical advice, but we can maybe give you resources to show you where to go, who to talk to, and make it a little bit easier if you're waiting.
Yeah, I agree 100%, because it's a hard enough thing to do to make that first appointment or research it and get your head around that. And then thinking to yourself, okay, I've done all that work, but now I have to wait 2 months for my first appointment. Like, I need help now, or I need help tomorrow. And then I know with a lot of mental health struggles, people, sometimes it comes on so acutely that it's not like you can prepare yourself or you can make an appointment. In 2 months, I'm really going to need some help. So I'm just going to plan ahead. That's not how life works. And so doing what fits for you is such an important thing.
Oh, I agree. And how do you think, what programs or services do you think Chillicothe could expand on when it comes to mental health services?
Yeah, I think that, all of Southern Ohio in particular, but really all of America, there's a shortage of mental health service providers. And we know that historically, even healthcare systems have not, and the way our insurance system works, has not emphasized always mental health services. And so I think the challenge is the long game is getting people into school to, train to help people and making tweaks to the insurance system and creating availability. I think we're fortunate in this community to have agencies that prioritize mental health services, and they've been established for a long time. But I think supporting those services, promoting those services, and again, creating awareness about what's out there, both, sort of the 501c3 avenue, and then the private care providers, making sure that people know what's out there. And I think that such a huge part of it is just communication and education.
Yeah. And as a dad yourself, do you think we should, is there a certain age that you think we should really be talking about mental health, in the schools?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very cautious whether we're talking about school curriculum or a doctor's advice or anything like that. I tend to try to leave it to the professionals. But I will say this, I think that at home, we're very open with both of our kids and talking about emotions and the importance of, if you need somebody to talk to, it can be mom or dad, or it could be a counselor, it could be a therapist. And I think that the first step, what I would encourage any school district to do, and I know my kids are at Chillicothe, I know that they have these resources available, is creating those resources, making them available, and again, making sure that it is sort of baked into the cake, that there's somebody there that you can talk to, and that's not a bad thing, that's a good thing. And if it starts at a young age and a second grader knows that there's a counselor or a therapist or a friend in the school that they can talk to, that's a great place to start, and that will pay dividends for years to come when that student is out of school, in their mid-20s and want somebody to talk to, they know that that's an okay thing to do. And so the school district's creating that environment, I think, is a major first step.
And when you were growing up, was mental health a big thing? Did you deal with anything with family? I always talk about that. Like when I was growing up, like we didn't talk about it. We kind of didn't acknowledge it. A lot of people just dealt with things and went on. I didn't feel like it was more open back in the day.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, when I wouldn't say that it was a taboo or anything like that in my family. It's just that, I was born in 1980, grew up in the 80s and 90s. I think that mental health in general was less talked about and less understood. I think that at least my recollection of it was that it wasn't broadly talked about. Now, some families probably have more or less firsthand experiences with certain aspects of mental health issues or challenges, so that's probably a part too. But I do recall even in my teens and early 20s thinking about things in much more broad terms than is realistic, right? Like depression, somebody's depressed, or they have anxiety, very broad understanding of things, without recognizing that there can be a lot of nuance, and that people can have spells of depression or anxiety or things that they challenge them, or things that aren't defined, right? Or diagnosed, or may or may not need medicine. And thinking about just being aware of those scenarios as we're more in tune with ourselves and the types of things that can impact those. I was telling somebody recently, probably the first time I really recognized the connection between physical health and mental health was during law school. And I remember finals week in particular, like my mind being scrambled, tests were hard, and just feeling a need to exercise and recognizing I go play basketball or something, and that helped my mental headspace. And so ever since then, I've tried to be more aware of the impact that my physical health has on my mental health. Not always easy, because it seems like when you're having mental health struggles, it's much harder to do the physical things. So
exactly, they're hand in hand. But you're like, got to get yourself up and motivate and go out there and run or ground. Yeah, that is a very hard thing.
Yeah, it's like it's logical. Just go do something active. Well, I don't feel like doing anything active. That's the problem.
It is, but we just don't want to do it. I know.
Yeah.
I agree.
Easier said than done. It's like dieting, right? Just like eat less or eat better. Well, it's pretty simple.
Yes,
Completely.
It is.
Well, I do have a question. What motivated you in the beginning to become mayor?
Sure. So I was, I'll go back to when I first became city auditor. I was working at Legal Aid, and it was during the time of the foreclosure crisis, 2008 and on from there. And the type of work I was doing housing work, some tax work, domestic relations work, divorces, custody, that sort of thing. And at the same time, the organization I was with also encouraged volunteerism. So I joined a couple nonprofit boards and started working on some projects in the community. And we started a free tax preparation project that's still going on. And I really enjoyed getting people together and doing this type of work that seemed like it had a broad impact. I enjoyed the one-on-one aspect of legal representation, but it was during a time, especially in history, where we were representing so many people who were going through these foreclosures, but the banks on the other side, this is when those mortgages and securities have been swapped and bundled, and it was like people were losing their homes and there was no humans on the other side of it, and it was just incredibly frustrating. So it was these one-on-one situations that were really frustrating. And then on the other side, putting energy into something that seemed like it was having very broad impact. Within a pretty short amount of time, we're doing 1,000 tax returns for free in the community.
Wow.
So I started thinking about how to have using my same energy and time, and just think about impacting people differently. And that's when I was appointed to become city auditor, which might not seem, it's kind of most people don't know what a city auditor even does. It's basically the chief financial officer for the city. But the ability to have impact there. We did a tax amnesty program for people who had sort of, it relates to mental health, right? People know they're supposed to pay their taxes, but navigating that world is scary and confusing. You don't know what's going to happen. So we developed an amnesty program. Said, look, lots of people behind on their taxes. We understand that happens. Here's an open door for you to come through, and we're going to work it out. And so we did stuff like that. And we just refinanced some of our debt because interest rates were low. And after doing that for a couple of years, the sitting mayor decided that he wasn't going to run again. And then I sort of saw the opportunity for an even broader impact going from the auditor's office to become mayor. And so, in small towns like ours, I think there's a really big opportunity to impact everybody with certain projects. Like sort of rising tide lifts all boats scenarios, and it's a small enough area that you can sort of poke them, move things around. I compare it sometimes to folks who a couple decades ago were playing Sim City. It's small enough that we can have different impacts and change lives. And some of those things, people get caught up in, or the attention is oftentimes on national politics, but we can impact things often more directly and more sustainably at a local level. So those are the types of things I've really enjoyed. A lot of the stuff that I've had the most fun with is kind of under the radar stuff, but it makes a difference in lives. And so that was a long answer to a short question, but
you're fine.
That's
Yeah, we wanted to pick your brain, so that's perfect.
Yeah. Well, throughout your life, in moments where you feel like discouraged or challenged, what has been the factor or your reasoning behind, continuing to go and find your way throughout it?
Yeah, that's a great question. For me, I think oftentimes, even take a day in the mayor's office. You can imagine any day of the week that the concerns that come my way, the frustrations people have, the amount of forward planning we need to do. Sometimes it can be discouraging in this job or any other. And for me, I try to remember in those moments, which is not always easy, like why we're doing this, right? So if you're just doing it for the money, I would not suggest anybody come to this job just for the money. But if you're doing it for the motivation of helping people, for public good, for volunteerism, public service, coming back to that and recognizing that there's a greater good, and I'm in a position to help people in a bigger way, that often helps get through some of those frustrating times. It's what I signed up for. It's why I'm doing it. So there's an acute moment of stress or frustration, but we know that's to be expected. But you kind of reground yourself for the bigger picture. And that doesn't always work, but it can.
Yeah.
Well, on the more personalized, goofy side, do you have a favorite snack or drink that would be your go-to throughout every day? Not just, your down days, just, the happy, the sad, the excited, throughout it all. Do you have a go-to snack or drink that you like to?
Yeah, well, coffee is 100% the go-to. Several months ago, my wife started drinking half calf, and so that it's gotten a little bit more complicated because I was pretty dialed into how much caffeine I was getting, and now I'm doing a lot more math about how much caffeine I'm getting. I wouldn't call myself a coffee connoisseur, but I do like it, and I mix it up some. And I think that is, it is sometimes a treat, but oftentimes it helps me get into a mental space of focus. Not only the caffeine itself and the energy and the focus, but also just kind of like the ritual of it. I should do a lot better about water than I do. I've recently discovered like liquid IV. Sometimes I can trick myself into drinking more water as well. And then I'm kind of streaky. Sometimes I'll go on a Diet Coke streak. And then sometimes it'll be like a sparkling water, like those Waterloos or LaCroix or something like that. But I am a person who likes variety, so I mix it up. But I would say on the opposite end of that, especially since having kids, I'm a really bad stress eater and snacker. So like my kids, I don't know if my kids ever watch this, but Halloween happens or Easter happens, we put the candy up high, and I don't know how they recognize how quickly it goes down, because it's like the only group that can reach it is me. And that is not a good, it'd be better off as really low.
It's a dad tax,
Yeah.
Gotta take it.
Yeah. So late, especially like late at night, if it was out of sight, out of mind. When I was single, I just didn't keep that stuff in the house. It worked out a lot better. But yeah, what was I stealing last night? Some sort of like sour gummy rope or something like that.
Well, that's my daughter's favorite. I have well, if you had any kind of superpower, what and why would you choose that?
What a good question. We just got back from vacation yesterday, and sometimes I think about, I think that people say to me all the time, "Oh, I would never want your job." And people are different, just situated for different things. And for example, I don't think I could ever be a teacher, especially elementary school. The amount of patience that is displayed. My mom's an elementary school teacher. The amount of patience that elementary school teachers have is like a superpower to me. So for my superpower choice, I would just go with patience. If I could get that dialed up, that would be my superpower. I would dial in.
That's totally understandable. We all need patience in our life, and it's very easy to blow beyond that and react out of anger.
Yeah, it's, I wish I had sometimes it's easy to look, especially I'm thinking a lot about just with the kids, and after a long day at work, come home, and it's like you can feel it, that you're bound up a little bit. And then it's almost, sometimes I think about it like a cup that's filling up or something. There's no patience left. And if I could just recognize with the kids, like, okay, let's add a little 20% more to that cup or something. I think that, so the first step is being aware. And the next step is,
and being a parent is hard, because you're like, oh, that's a lot of patience. So everything you do, being mayor, being a parent, being everything, it is hard.
Yeah. Something I can definitely work up more on. I know that.
Yeah, I think we all can.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yes. Well, I have one last question for you.
Yes.
Throughout your time as a leader and someone within the community, do you have anything that you would prefer for people to remember about your leadership?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think that in the climate that we're in, there's just a lot of noise. There's a lot of talk. There's a lot of sort of fluff. And I think that while I've been in office, I've tried to get things done. And I think that what I would hope is that people recognize that it's certainly not just me, it's the team around me, that we work really hard to get things done, to make improvements, to make plans, put them in place and execute them. And that we didn't cause a lot of or create a lot of noise and drama, and it's not a lot of talk, it's a lot of action, making things happen for the community that will be lasting, permanent improvements, sustainability things. We think a lot about that, thinking about, okay, we can change this today, but what do we do to make sure that it's in place for future generations? We were just having a conversation about playground mulch, and this is the level of detail we get into sometimes, but 12 inches of wood mulch is about the same as 6 inches of rubber mulch in terms of fall rating. And so rubber mulch is more expensive, but lasts 10 to 12 years. Wood mulch is cheaper, but you got to replace it every 1 to 2 years. And so what do we put in place to make us more likely to be successful and safer and sustainable in the future? And so I think that if somebody would, when I'm out of office, look back on the time I was in office, and somebody said to me once, it just seems like things are getting done, and I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah.
I definitely think, at least on my point of view, one thing that I will always remember throughout your time as mayor was your compassion and your involvement within our community.
Yeah.
I only got to meet you recently last September when you proclaimed You Matter Day, and I've seen you throughout the community and stuff like that, but meeting you in that moment really highlighted your compassion and your involvement overall, your true care within our community.
Yeah.
I think that's very admirable, and that, without a doubt, will be one of the biggest things that I will remember about your time serving.
I appreciate that. I think it's it's a small community, and it's a type of place where I think it's perfectly reasonable for people to expect mayors and leaders to be available and to be a part of the community. Basically, I'm just selfish. Like, I live here, I'm raising my kids here, and I want it to be a cool place. And I want like you said, You Matter Day. I want those things to matter. And if and when I can help in those situations, it feels good to do that. It's a strange thing. If I think about like a ribbon cutting or proclamation, sometimes I think to myself, like, why would anybody want me there? Like, who cares? Like, it's just like, it doesn't, like, it's just a piece of paper, but then people are so appreciative sometimes, and it helps me understand that I am able to amplify. And I know it's not me, it's just the office and the attention that it brings. And that feels good to know that I can help, raise awareness or make somebody's day special. And I have to sort of step outside myself sometimes to recognize that is important for people. So I appreciate you saying that.
Yes. Thank you so much for everything. And thank you so much for coming on here. And talking, and like he said, we love what you're doing and your compassion, and you can see it. I'm like you, actions speak a lot louder than words, and like, you're showing it. You're doing so many things in the community and doing amazing things. So we definitely appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for saying that and for having me on.
Yeah. Well, that'll make your day go better. So we're appreciative. Everybody is. So yes.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on here. All right. See you later.
See you later. Thanks.
Bye.